The Prophet ﷺ says in an authentic hadith that remember the destroyer of pleasures, which is death. I swear, whenever we're always remembering death, whenever we remember the reality of life, that's when we're sort of on our purpose. And the opposite of doing so is to blind ourselves from our purpose. This is what you realize, bro. Whenever we're just seeking pleasure all day, it's like we try to run away from the realities of life. Whether that's having your homework done, whether that's you have an assignment due, or whether anything. It's specifically mostly whenever we pleasure ourselves is to run away from reality. This is what you'll always notice, right? Whenever like drug addicts, whenever they ask why do you do drugs, a lot of their answers are just like, because I'm trying to run away from this reality. I'm trying to escape reality. That's what it is, escape reality. Especially this is how I felt when I was playing video games, like a lot of video games, which was I was just escaping my reality. I was going into this virtual world. That's what it feels like to just seek pleasure all day. Bro, wallahi, I was living such a comfortable life, man. Like today I was reminiscing about like the life I was sort of living before I got like started to improve myself. And a lot of you guys may know the story. Some of the bad things I did when I was like just, man, like I was literally living with no purpose, man. I like sometimes I can't even tell you what it means to live without purpose. For me, I wasn't living with a purpose. Like I would wake up and my reality would be so like bad, and realistically it wasn't bad. But because I was ungrateful, I've made it seem like it was worse than it is. So I would wake up with this already feeling like I don't want to wake up anymore. I don't want to wake up because my reality is bad. So in order to please myself, I went into my phone and did whatever that's on there, like to the brim. I remember it would be like I would wake up at like 10, 11 a.m. and I would be on my phone for 2-3 hours just in my bed. And you know how like whenever you're in your bed for so long, you start feeling like that weird, like it starts feeling warm, like but in a really like weird musty way. You know what I'm trying to say? Imagine feeling that every single day, just doing nothing but waking up and the first thing you do is try to please yourself from your phone. And I'm not gonna go in depth about it. Just imagine how you feel as a human being. And you like getting up from your bed feels like a hassle. You're already tired and you don't want to do anything anymore. Like you don't know how this destroys your mental health, bro. You don't know how much of a loser you feel like. You don't know how much of a disappointment you feel like. I remember my attention span and everything was so bad that like, and I was never a hard worker. I was never someone who's disciplined. So whenever I would study for a test, I would literally fake study. Bro, wallahi, this is one of my signatures back in grade 10, bro. Grade 10 math class. I would pretend and like my friends would all think I'm studying, but I wasn't studying. And then I remember I would like almost like lie about my grades. Like I knew I wasn't studying. Like every time I would sit down to study, I would just do like one question and just I couldn't even bear doing one question. Like my brain couldn't handle it. My brain couldn't take it. I was so desensitized. Like my brain couldn't take sitting down. Just sitting down to study was too much of a handful for me. All that led to was me getting bad marks. And then that led to me I kept telling myself, oh, I'm lazy. I'm just lazy. Imagine telling yourself that every single day. Imagine putting yourself down every single day. How could you not feel depressed? How could you not feel like, how can you be happy? Imagine living that existence of just scrolling video games, this bad thing, that bad thing. This kind of culture is so common, bro, that it's literally being pushed down our throats. Like this stuff is normal to just waste time. It's being pushed down our throats by these these social media companies, bro. They're all like they're Iblis's like friends, bro. I swear. This Zuckerberg guy, this guy, like these guys are just ruthless people that don't understand, or they do understand, but they don't care. They don't care about how they're destroying society. Yeah, sure, people are benefiting. I'm sure there's some people that are benefiting, but on a mass scale, some of these features that they have on these apps, the fact that they allow sexually explicit content on their apps, they do that for a purpose. They do that to keep people engaged. They do that. Imagine they've made a system. These guys have made a system to keep you on their app for as long as possible. Do you understand how demonic that sounds? I'm saying this from a guy who's like literally like someone who makes YouTube videos. These apps are designed to keep your focus and attention and your brain on this app for as long as they can. These apps are designed to make us literally away from our purpose into this virtual world of just chasing empty pleasure. These apps are meant to just make us on them, like just be on the app for as long as possible while negating our duties, while negating what we're supposed to do. All that to just backbite on us. Sorry. Couple months later, it backbites on us. Couple months later, we're still not successful. We're still not happy. These apps are actually satanic. Imagine your life is just all gray. Imagine it's just gray. You hate the way you look. You hate yourself. You feel like a loser. All you're doing is seeking pleasure all day, only to feel more regret later how you just wasted the last 5-6 hours out of your day just doing absolutely nothing. You want to be productive, you want to be like rich or successful, you want to be on your deen, but you're just in this black hole of pleasure, and just the amount of regret that you feel from that. And then I remember one day I came across this mental health video by a non-Muslim YouTuber, but that time I wasn't super practicing on my deen. And from that moment, from Allah's mercy, from His guidance, from His hidayah, wallahi, from that moment, again, through Allah's qadr, I became, in just 2 weeks, I completely transformed myself. I could never imagine myself sitting down and reading books. I could never imagine myself doing that. I've never read books except the ones that they forced us to read for school. I was never a guy who woke up early. I was never a person who wanted to wake up early. Unless it was like, even then we'd be missing Fajr when I was a little kid. I was never a guy who would spend his time like with purpose. I was never a guy on a routine. I was never a guy who was going outside just to enjoy fresh air. I was never a person who would sit down to just focus on his work. And alhamdulillah, with the qadr of Allah, that's what happened. I became, with the qadr of Allah, all of that. With the permission of Allah, all of that. Someone who can just sit down and like actually focus on work. Someone who feels purposeful. Someone who's on a mission. Someone who's not living in that dark hole like I was living before. And you don't know the amount of fulfillment, the amount of contentment that came from that. You don't know how grateful I feel to Allah that He allowed me to improve myself. Imagine waking up and like early, having a morning routine, going to the gym. Let alone a few months later, I started to add in salah because I got closer to my deen. So imagine just like living this lifestyle of improving yourself, and like that's the opposite of hating yourself. Now you love yourself. Now you actually love yourself because you're doing things that will make you a better person. Even if it's 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years in the future. Even though you know that you're not going to get the direct rewards, the direct pleasure. Maybe sometimes being disciplined is hard, but you're doing it because you love yourself. You're doing it because you want to be grateful to Allah. That is how you can start to change yourself. The moment you look at this version of yourself who's just chasing pleasure all day, who's someone who's mediocre, someone who's not clearly happy with life, the moment you look at this and you hate that life, the moment you hate every part of it, the moment that you realize that life was chasing emptiness and nothing else, and then the moment you realize and start hating all these bad things, just like how the Sahaba hated their jahiliyyah, like their lives of ignorance. You know, the Sahaba, they would hate their lives of ignorance. Like, how can I go back to that life of ignorance? The same thing, how can you go back to the life of chasing pleasure and becoming depressed and just not purposeful? How can you go back to that life? You can't. And there's only one way out. To come back to Allah. And the moment you come back to Allah, everything else falls into fruition. The moment you come back to Allah is when you start praying. When you start praying, you start becoming disciplined. You start waking up early because now you have to pray Fajr. The moment you start waking up early, you start, utilizing your time because now you have so much more time in the day. That old life I was living with zero purpose, all you have to do is flip it. You have to realize that these bad things that we do every single day, they're just symptoms. They're just symptoms of what we felt before. Like, I'll give you an example. The reason why some of us need to play video games, especially like competitive video games, is because we need to feel a sense of accomplishment. We need to feel a sense of feeling like we're winning in life. And that's why a video game is just such an easy way to win. Like, you just go on a video game, you move your keyboard a bunch of times, and then you win at the game. And you realize that the moment you win, it feels like, okay, you won, after, like, and then 30 seconds later, that feeling of winning just goes away. And you realize that the moment you you stop playing that video game for the day, you don't even feel fulfilled. You don't even feel happy. You feel more tired and lethargic. The same thing, the reason why some of us need to go watch haram videos online, because we don't have that sense of maybe love. A lot of us didn't feel that sense of love. Or the reason maybe is because we don't have a lot of reasons. There's always a reason behind something. You know, these bad things that we do every single day, maybe the biggest reason is that we're not on our purpose. And being on purpose is to worship Allah. And worshipping Allah means everything else as well. Being a really good Muslim, being a really good mu'min, waking up early, taking advantage of your time, taking advantage of your youth. As the Prophet ﷺ says, there are so many things, but maybe we're just wasting our days and wasting our time all day because we don't have a purpose to live by. And so we're just slowly diminishing our lives and destroying our lives as time goes on. Time is destroying us. Time is killing us. So the solution is to hate the stuff that we did in this life, to hate the bad things that destroy us, to hate the bad things that destroy our attention span, and then that leads to being bad at school, and that leads to not being accomplished, and that leads to hating yourself. Like, there's so many different stems. It's like a tree. You can either have the tree of success, inshallah, or the tree of failure. But they all have many branches, and they all grow in their own respective ways. I swear, akhi, the way you do this, stop doing the things that make you this in the first place. The way you do this by the permission of Allah to get away from this life of mediocrity and just destroying your life all day, is to stop doing the things that destroy your life all day. It's that simple. It's to stop doing it and start having some self-respect for yourself. We're Muslims, bro. Muslims need to have self-respect for themselves, bro. If we don't have self-respect for ourselves, how are other people going to respect Muslims? Let's just be completely blunt here. If we are just doing nothing as Muslims, wasting our time, how are people going to look at Muslims and be like, I want to be like that? Like, I don't want to be like that. Of course, like, they're not gonna want it. Of course, Allah guides them. Allah guides people whom He wills. But we have to do our part of giving da'wah. And clearly, this is not how you do it, by wasting time, by living a mediocre life, but just doing nothing. Allah requires excellence out of us. The fact that we are the chosen ummah, the fact that we're of the ummah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is the greatest man to ever step foot on earth, and then you study the Sahaba, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and then many more Sahaba, you realize these men were just like, and of course the sisters as well. I mean, even the Muslims, the Sahabiyat, the Muslims of the Ummah as well. Khadija radiallahu anha being the one of the best of them, and then Aisha radiallahu anha, and Fatima radiallahu anha, and all of these Muslims, we have so much to live up to, and yet we're not. We need to put our head down, stop destroying ourselves, because we know that if we have the truth, if we have a purpose, what are we doing to waste our lives? Why are we wasting our lives? If we all know that we'll all die, why? Like, if we know that all of our lives will end, why? Why are we just destroying ourselves? Allah says in the Quran, Allah does not change the state of the believers until they change themselves. You have to let go of that life, okay? Or sister, if you're watching. Let go of the life and embrace another life. A life of wanting to be successful in your own right, a life of wanting to be a good Muslim, a life of discipline and being productive. You have to let this life go behind, bro. You can only seek pleasure for so long until the angel of death comes to you. Even before then, until your life goes to a pity, like your life just goes to the pit, like it just destroys itself. You're only going downhill. You're only dying. In life, there's nothing such as staying the same. You're either growing or you're either dying, because time keeps going on. And the best way you can start doing that is to stop living a life of comfort. And the first step is to remove these things out of your life that was once keeping you in that comfort. And the second step is to choose a different pathway, choose a different life, being productive, doing some deep work, sacrificing, waking up early, having a routine, having a morning routine, taking care of your health, eating clean, going to the gym. We have so much to do. A lot of us are just sitting here knowing, like, we think we have nothing to do. We have so much work to fulfill, so much things to seek knowledge. We have so much to do. The best way you can make that, and the best way you can do that, is by starting a routine. And so I'll be making a video about that soon. But hopefully this helped you. Assalamu alaikum. I love you. Bye.